Is Saskatchewan affected by rising interest rates, and is it still an affordable place to buy a house?
This is the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast, the show that highlights Saskatchewan real estate. Looking to buy your first house, your next investment property? Subscribe to never miss an episode. Here's your host, Ron Caroni.
Hello and welcome back to the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Caroni, and today we are talking about the market snapshot of Saskatchewan. We're seeing a lot of things going on, inflation, but what is happening to the Saskatchewan market? And that's why we're so happy to be joined by the Saskatchewan Realtors Association CEO, Chris Guerette. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No, thanks for the invitation, Ron.
I'm really happy to have you here. It's a busy summer, so we really appreciate your time. Chris, before we get into the interview, can you just give us a little snapshot of your background and your interaction with the Saskatchewan Realtor Association?
Yes, well, I've been CEO here for just over a year, but previously I was with the Home Builders Association for the Saskatoon area. And so I've been in housing for close to 10 years now, and my career is mostly assisting small businesses, not-for-profits, developing communities, and really serving either sectors or small businesses. So just happy to continue that in this role here.
Awesome. All right. So moving right into the questions here, Chris. Interest rates steadily rose in the early parts of 2022. Now, this obviously had a direct impact on markets like Toronto, Vancouver, where we saw big drops. What did we see here in Saskatchewan?
Well, not surprising, we didn't see the same thing. And I say not surprising. I say not surprising because often nationally, when we have some large policies that impact, everybody across the country, we typically don't see the same impact here in Saskatchewan. And we could have a whole podcast only on that. But here, we don't typically have the upswings and the downswings that the rest of the country has. That's probably due to a number of factors: our economy, our growing population base, etc. So we did not see the same impact at all. And in fact, I don't think we foresee that for the next few months, or at least for 2022. Definitely has some impacts on, those looking to buy a home and the everyday person who, is really feeling the squeeze. But in terms of the market, we haven't seen the same thing that maybe Ontario and BC have seen.
Right. And I think it's also important to highlight there that we also don't see those giant maybe upswings as well that a Toronto and Vancouver would be. So a very steady market from that side. And if we were to look at it, just broadly speaking, Chris, what are we kind of seeing from the Saskatchewan real estate market? Prices, sales, unit volume. How's the real estate market performing right now?
Well, the real estate market is performing quite well. I mean, that's the big question that people often have in terms of, is this the time to buy a home? And really that question is best answered by individuals themselves in terms to what are your finances and what do you want in life and so on. But the market per se is performing quite well. There's a few things that we watch for as an association. We don't only watch sort of the benchmark price. We don't only watch how many people are buying and selling. What we do watch is the inventory levels. So what are the inventory levels? That means how many homes are on the market versus how many people are actually looking to buy. And how long would that inventory take if there were no other homes for sale in the market? How long would that take for that inventory to completely erode to nothing? That's what we watch, because that has a direct impact on the price of a home, because it's a supply and demand issue. And we always watch immigration numbers as well, in terms of how many people are we welcoming to our province, because that will have an impact on how many homes we have to supply. So when we take a look at those options, we have seen an erosion of affordability over the last few years. I think we've felt that throughout the province. That being said, though, we're still one of the most affordable provinces in the country. So even though we would have further erosion of affordability, we're still in a pretty good place. That being said, there's still some sections of that housing continuum that we don't have a lot of inventory in. And those are typically the more affordable ones. So that's a bit of the market. But, we could talk for a really long time about the market.
Totally. And I think kind of you're getting to a key point on all of this, is that when we're talking about the price of a home or how healthy is the market, there's always factors that are pushing up against each other. There's the supply side of how many houses are there, how many houses are being built. Then there's also, how easy is it to get a loan? Is the job market very strong? And these factors are always kind of pushing against each other. And I think probably
Yes.
what's been true, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is that the supply side has just been very short over the last couple of years. And until we really see more inventory come on, we're still always going to have that major factor of lack of supply pushing against all of these other things.
Completely. And you mentioned two really good points. There's affordability, but there's also accessibility. So those are two things that we have to watch together. So we may have a very affordable market, but with the systems in place, it's not very accessible, especially for first-time home buyers. And we have to remember that Saskatchewan is actually a very young province. We are the province that has the highest percentage in our population of millennials. And typically that's the group that is either moving into home ownership or moving up and down, depending where they are in their career. And so those are things that we have to watch very closely as well. And let's also remember that affordability is not only the discussion of the price point, it's also in relation to average salaries. And so we have to watch all of those different points when we take a look at how healthy is our market.
So how much does the Saskatchewan Realtors Association track factors like inflation and the potential pain that might cause for consumers, balanced with the benefits of, let's say, like a Saskatchewan economy where we're very commodity based? Do you folks kind of take all of those things holistically and say, here's what we can kind of look at for how our province is performing in a real estate way?
Yeah, absolutely. But there is one aspect that I think we don't talk about enough, and it would be great to develop a tool for that. Is do we have sort of an affordability index or an affordability metrics that could calculate month over month so that we'd be used to talking about it in terms of how healthy is our market, in terms of how is it serving our general population as a whole, right? Average salaries, what's the growth, what's the economy, what's the average price of a home, is our continuum healthy with the quantity that we have? So those are really good conversations to have. In fact, that's why we are a founding member of the Saskatchewan Housing Continuum, because we know that we needed more research to better understand the health of our housing continuum and how do we move forward. And then with that information, how do we equip our decision makers to make better policy decisions that impact housing?
Totally. And does that come back to, you need the real data? You need to have some understanding of what everyone is kind of dealing with. And then you can go to local governments, provincial governments, and say, these are the things we need to be able to serve the real estate market.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just from us in terms of real estate, but for the many players that actually feed off of real estate. I think we forget very quickly that real estate is a very strong pillar of our economy. And it's also a pillar of our economy that can be, it's very volatile in terms of different policies, whether it be economic, political, it can impact real estate voluntarily or not. So there's a lot of unintended consequences that impact real estate. And so it's very important for decision makers to always have real estate very front of mind in terms of how does it impact not only the province's economy, but individuals' economy, right? They're all little microcosms of, operating on their own. And for many individuals, owning a home is not only the biggest decision they'll ever make, but it's also, financially their retirement plan. Same thing as owning a business, right? Commercially to residential.
Awesome. Great points, Chris. And to wrap it up here, I know we probably have a few people watching who are the first time home buyers, and they're saying, okay, Chris, but when is the right time to buy? So I know giving predictions is probably the hardest thing that we get asked to do. But if we did have to maybe take a look in the crystal ball and say, 3 to 6 months down the road, what's the market looking like?
I always say, if you're looking to purchase a home, or move up or move down that housing continuum, yes, there's going to be a small portion of it based on the market, but really the most important component of that decision is your own personal decision in terms of where your finances at, where are you personally in your life, and nobody can make that decision for you. But what helps you make that decision is surrounding yourself with the right experts, right? Who are always into this market. You know, your realtor, your lawyer, some people require an accountant. So surround yourself with the right people so that you can then make the best decision for you. So it's not the answer you want, Ron, but I always
a little prediction, Chris. Yeah.
You know, we are very, very fortunate in Saskatchewan. We really are. We have a very affordable market. Maybe not for everybody, and I realize that, but there's tremendous amount of opportunity here. And so I would actually say, if you're not from Saskatchewan, this is the place you want to move to, because the opportunities for success for both personally and your business is far greater here, I would argue, than in other provinces.
Okay, I'll let you skirt away without giving the prediction. If people want more information on the Saskatchewan Realtors Association, you'd mentioned the Saskatchewan Housing Continuum. Is there any way that people can stay connected with all the great work that you folks are doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's always our website, but we do a great job on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us. Reach out to us. We have a great team here that thrives on, hearing from our members and from the public. So anytime, feel free to reach out online or in person.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your expertise today, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity, Ron.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast. If you found it informative or you learned something, do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. Until next week, I'm Ron Caroni, your Saskatchewan mortgage professional. Bye for now.